I started my personal finance journey about 8 years ago. In that 8 years, there have been a few lessons that I've learned along the way. There are 4 key lessons that I've learned. But before I go into these 4 lessons, I just want to take a step back and talk about some areas that need to be reviewed first. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's so lovely to have you here today. My name is Carina darling. My channel is focused on personal finance, growing wealth and faith. In today's video, I'll be looking at signs that you are doing well financially even if it does not look like it. So let's go straight into the video. I started my personal finance journey about 8 years ago. In that 8 years, there have been a few lessons that I've learned along the way. There are 4 key lessons that I've learned. But before I go into these 4 lessons, I just want to take a step back and talk about some areas that need to be reviewed first. So the starting point in this video will be 3 fundamentals that I have picked up over the years before I go into the 4 main areas that I will suggest you focus on your financial wellness journey. The first one will be doing a financial health check. It's important to know where you are financially and how much is coming in and how much is going out. If you don't do this, then you can't move forward. A lot of times you could think that, oh, I know it in my head, I know my outgoings, I know how much I spend. But actually what has helped me over the years is putting pen to paper and writing it down, or using my laptop and just identifying all the key things that I have done in a month and where my resources, my money has gone, areas that I believe that I want to grow in the future. Once I have done that health check, then I have a holistic picture of what my financial picture is like, and then I can start making steps to improve it. The second thing I would look at assessing is my emergency pot. Once you've done your health check, then you know how much you spend on a monthly basis, and this is a good place to know how much emergency pot you want to have. Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? It's worth noting that putting money away in an emergency pot can take a lot of your resources. So take for instance, if you were to put 50,000 away for a year, you would have to save in your emergency pot consistently between 800 and 1,000 pounds every month between 4.5 to 5 years roughly for you to have 50,000. So that then puts it into perspective, and then you say to yourself, okay, within that 3 to 5 years, what's my intention? Do I also want to invest? And if you do decide to invest, depending on your outgoing, you probably will be putting anywhere between 500 to 1,000 pounds every month as investment. Already you can see this is a big chunk of the money that comes in. So you're looking at anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 putting away in your emergency pot and your investment. But then if you're someone who needs to go on holiday, you need to also do repairs in your house, you need to eat out, you need to live. So these are all the considerations you have to take into account. So it's not easy putting money in an emergency pot. So if I aim to have an emergency pot of 3 months to 6 months, then that gives me space to put some money away into investment as well. Rather than being radical about putting money in an emergency pot, I might split that into 2 and then maybe put a certain amount into emergency pot and a certain amount into investment. But it's worth noting that these investments are long-term goals. They are not things that happen within a year or 2. And it's also worth noting that things will happen in your life during the lifetime of these savings. So you could have an emergency pot and have saved maybe 3 months worth of salary or 6 months worth of salary, and suddenly something happens where you need to take money from your emergency pot. Once you've taken that money, you have to now start putting that money back again. Or if you lose a job, then you have to go into your emergency pot and spend that. So if your outgoing in a year is 50,000 pounds, for example, and say you've saved in your emergency pot 50,000, which has taken you maybe about 4.5 to 5 years, can you see that within 6 months to a year, all of that money can just go if, say, you lost your job? It's something that you have to think about and not be so hard on yourself when you're putting money away as your emergency pot, is to think about it realistically. How much can I put away? Do I still want to keep investing? How much can I invest? Weigh all the options and see which one works best for you. The third factor that you should consider is having manageable debt. Debt is one of those areas that it's become extremely expensive to have debt. Beginning of last year, debt was still quite cheap. The interest rates were very low. We had a historic interest rate reduction for about 10 to 12 years. But now interest rates rate has shot up quite massively, and in less than a year or even coming to 12 months, we've had probably about 12 increases of interest rates by the Bank of England. So that also affects the debt that we have, and this is an area that I'm working on this year to see if I can reduce as much debt as possible. Credit card debt, most times the most expensive debt, so the aim is to reduce those as drastically as you can, but looking at paying the ones with the highest interest. Investments that were made earlier on last year or even in 2021 are now quite expensive to maintain. Sometimes people say to me, but I'm trying my best to reduce my debt. Does that mean I can't do the things I enjoy? The answer is no. You can still do some things you enjoy. You might not be able to do all the things you enjoy. London is a very expensive city. I have a property in London, and actually this is a good rental market, and this is a time where maybe a lot of people want to rent a property. What I've done is I've moved out of London, and this is something that I'm putting in the pipeline. The next few months I'll be out of London. I'm looking at other places to move to, and then potentially see if my property can yield me some income. This is something that I'm doing so that I can reduce some of my expenses and maybe have that extra money to be able to pay off some debt. So these are the three factors we should consider. Even if you're doing one, you're already doing very well. If you have a health check, that's already fantastic. And then if you can start adding some money into your emergency pot, and then having debt that you're managing and seeing how you can pay some of them off every month, chipping into it, that's already a good place to start. Now I'm going to go into the 4 main areas that I want to look into for this video, and to encourage you that you're doing well, not as you might look at it and think that you're not doing so well, but actually when I go through them, you realize that you are. The first point I want to explore is focus on growing every day and only compete with yourself yesterday. How are you doing today compared to you yesterday? If you're growing and developing, great. If you're not, then check in and ask yourself why that's the case. Work on your why and continue on your journey. Try not to compare yourself to others, and try not to compete with others, because everyone is on a different journey as you. I know it's easier said than done, and there'll be those days where you scroll through social media and you feel that people are succeeding and people are achieving a lot better and you are left behind. But what I will encourage you to do is to have a tunnel vision and focus on just yourself. Just keep your eyes on your goal, and if for some reason there are days when you don't do as well as you would like to do, learn from them, find out why, and continue on your journey. The second question I'm going to ask is, what eyes are you using to look at your situation? Are you using your lens, your eyes, or are you using society's eyes and expectation of you? If you're using the lens of an individual, so yourself, then there's a different way you're looking at it. If you're using the lens of society or what society's expectation is of you, then you will always feel that you're falling short, and you will feel left behind, and you're comparing yourself to these other people. So look at yourself individually, look at your journey, look at your personal circumstance. Where are you on this journey, and what are you trying to achieve? There's a saying that what you magnify is what you see. So if you say to yourself, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing well, then you're magnifying that negativity about yourself, and then that's what you will see, that's what will be projected. It's the same with relationships. If you look at your relationship and you feel that, oh, I don't have a good relationship, or my husband is bad, or my wife is bad, and you list all these things that make them bad, then you're gonna constantly see that in them. You won't see the good. If you change your perspective and you use a different lens and see what's happening in your situation and in your personal life, then I'm sure you will see areas where there's been a significant growth in your life. The positive thing about this is that if you only magnify good things happening in your life, and if you only magnify yourself on that journey, then you're most likely going to rid yourself of expectation and comparison. You're not going to have that problem, because you're just seeing yourself as you on the lane. You're comparing yourself to the you yesterday. If the you today is doing much better than the you yesterday, then you're making significant progress. My second point here would be a doer and not a talker. You'll notice that a lot of my videos have mentioned this, and that's because there is a lot of noise in this world. People are constantly talking, and I feel that social media is giving us that liberty to just express ourselves, and sometimes the expression is not even filtered or withheld. People will just speak. What I would suggest is talk less and do more. When you have goals and targets, set those goals and targets for yourself and just get on with them and do them. You don't need to share them with anybody. And if you share with people who you trust, people who you feel accountable to, people who are on the same journey or better better, people who you look up to, because they will pull you up as you go on that journey as well. The third point I want to share today is growing wealth. You know, my channel is about personal finance and it's about wealth creation and growing that. It's easy to make money, but it's not easy to grow wealth. There's a book I read which is called The Compounding Effect by Darren Hardy. He compared two different people. One was the guy who did nothing, and there was another guy who started eating well and started exercising. In the first 3 months, there wasn't any significant improvement with these two people. Probably in the next 6 months, as an outsider, you may not even notice the difference. But fast forward to 18 months, the guy who was going out exercising every day and eating well, in comparison to the guy who did not, in 18 months there was a stark difference. And it was so evident that one had a different trajectory from the other. And that's how progress is and wealth creation. A lot of times when you start off, it's a very slow process and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to feel that you're going backward rather than moving forward. But if you persevere and you carry on, you will learn lessons along the way, and those lessons will help you build something much bigger. And that is the compounded effect of wealth creation. The same as the stock market. Even if you put something like 30,000 in the S&P 500 for the first year, and say you get, when the market does really well, 2,500 roughly as your income for your 30,000 money. But if you continue to compound it, so every year that same money you recycle it into your investment, in just 5 years you will be on roughly over 40,000, which is a good progress. But if you focused on the first 2 to 3 years, you won't have a significant amount. Even the first 5 years, 30,000 is a lot of money that to you might think, oh, I only got 2,500. But as you keep recycling it and you keep compounding it, it grows. It's the same with your life. As you keep growing, as you keep progressing and developing, and you don't give up, because the moral of the story is you never give up. You continue on that journey, you continue persisting, you continue to develop and grow, and continue to keep your head down and work on your wealth creation. Within 10 years, you will see the journey that you've made. On this point, I would like to point out that it's important to invest in assets. Stocks and shares are good assets. Property is a good asset. Investing in businesses are good assets. So these are things that can compound and grow over time. My last point, which is nicely included here, is do not be afraid of failure. Failure comes to all the successful people. They will have times when they fell short, but what distinctively put them apart from those who are not successful is that they actually persevered. They didn't stop. They learned from their lesson. They failed. They picked up whatever lessons life was teaching them, and they continued to persevere. Failure is a part of a successful life. There is no success without failure. Don't let failure paralyze you, and you end up living a shell of the life that you could have lived if you had just persevered. I'll use this example to finish off. My parents are business people, so I grew up with entrepreneurs. And one of the key things I took out from my parents is that they were very hardworking people. They persevered. Did they fail in their businesses? I can't even keep count of how many businesses they failed. They will start a business today and suddenly I don't see them doing that again. I remember I used to say to them, it seems like you constantly keep changing. But one of the lessons from that is that they never gave up. I grew up in Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria. My parents were able to pay for me to come to the UK to study, stay in one of the top boarding schools in this country. And my siblings the same. They all went to private schools. They all went to boarding schools up until they finished all their studies, and they studied from graduate level to masters depending on what they wanted to study. My parents never minced on paying for fees, and it wasn't like they paid for fees and then our life was really crappy. Actually, when I look at the lifestyle we had, we lived the same lifestyle as most celebrities in the West. We flew first class, we traveled to wherever we wanted to go to. I'm not trying to brag in this video, but it's a lesson that for me that has motivated me, and I can see that my parents never gave up, and maybe that's where I get my tenacity to keep going and never give up on life, even if things are tough, to just persevere, because I saw them achieve so much more than they would have done if they gave in and became paralyzed by the failure and shrunk and then became less of themselves and then had to live a mediocre life because they were afraid to venture out and step out. I'm really grateful that they didn't do that, and because of the standards that they set, I'm able to benefit from that and actually persevere and keep going. So my encouragement to you today is, if you fail in a business, if you fail in a relationship, if you fail in your studies, take it again, do it again. Do not give up on life, because life is great and there's so many wonderful things that life will offer you for those who do not give up. All right, on that good note, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I will be linking another video here so you can actually watch this. Do not forget to like this video, comment, subscribe, share it with everyone, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye for now.